What is going on, everyone? My name is Under the Radar, and welcome back to the Draft League Viabilities. Today I'm going to be covering one of my all-time favorite walls in draft format, and that is Gliscor. Before we get into this, though, I do want to say thank you all so much for understanding and supporting and realizing that I needed to take this week off for my exam. Just to let you guys know, I did get a 100% on my 300-question exam, so it was totally worth me taking the week off, and I hope that you all do understand that for future references if it ever does come up again. But let's get right back to the video and the reason why I know you guys are here, and that is for the Draft League Viabilities on Gliscor. Now, as I said before, Gliscor is one of my all-time favorite walls in League format, even though it is a mon that has a 4 times weakness. The reason why this is one of my all-time favorite walls is because its 4 times weakness is easily covered by a bulky water type, which almost every single draft nowadays wants. They say that having a bulky water is almost mandatory, and they say that having an offensive fire type is almost mandatory, and a fairy type. And I kind of agree with most of those, but I think that a bulky water type is almost necessary. With that, Gliscor almost complements it almost perfectly, because bulky waters are weak to electric, Gliscor is immune to electric, and Gliscor is neutral to grass, which water is super effective against, so it kind of sort of really balances out. However, Gliscor is a very unique wall because it's not just a wall. It has base 95 speed, base 95 attack. Like, it can be a very good offensive mon. It has access to Swords Dance and agility. It has access to defog and stealth rocks. It can be a specially defensive mon because its physical defense is so good that it can actually take ice punches decently well even without being invested. It also has a really awesome move pool. It has things like, okay, well, the obvious ones. Substitute for like the substall, which I love substall in League format because sometimes if you bring like offensive Gliscor, it's really hard to break substall sometimes. It has Roost, it has access to Fire Fang, Ice Fang, it has access to U-Turn, Earthquake, Stone Edge, Acrobatic. So if you wanted to run like a SD Citrus Acrobatic set, you could do that. It has access to Agility. It has so much potential with setup options that saying that you have a wall in Gliscor is so incorrect. You have a wall in Skarmory, but Gliscor, it's an all-around pivot of the entire... I'm sorry, I just got to... Sorry for that little interruption. I had a little Skype phone call, but Gliscor is an all-around mon, and I think it's absolutely amazing. The only thing it can't do is it can't dish out special hits, which, I guess is kind of okay when you have access to Swords Dance and agility, and you can hit decently hard with base 95 attack. The one thing I will say I dislike about Gliscor, however, is the fact that it's almost mandatory that you run a Toxic Orb on it, because you need to be immune to status with it, and that means you can't run Defog. If you do want to run Defog, you can't run Toxic Orb, and I think that is the one thing that really hinders it. But that in itself isn't that bad, because if you have a steel type, you're immune to poison. If you have a fire type, you're immune to Will-O-Wisp. But if you have an electric type, you're immune to Thunderwave. Like, there's a lot of ways you can get around status, so it's not the worst thing in the entire world, but it does kind of hinder it a little tiny bit. As I was saying before, this thing doesn't really need a whole lot with it to make it synergize well on a good team. You just have to have a really good switch into ice types, and that is a bulky water. I think that this mon is honestly able to just be thrown onto any team that you look at it and you say, okay, I need a bulky pivot. I need sometimes that can be a wall. I need something that can be offensive sometimes. I already have a ground type. Gliscor can still fit as long as you have a bulky water type, in my opinion. Because a lot of the really offensive ice types are Mamoswine, which... if you have like a Yachi Berry, you play around it, you can live an ice type attack and you're immune to its other stab, and Weavile, which there are very few switch-ins to Weavile in the game unless you prepare very hard for it, so it's not that difficult to just throw it on a team and make it work, in my opinion. The main thing that I do think that Gliscor needs in draft format is a coach that is willing to run different sets, because the second that you are a coach that says, I have a wall, I'm going to run Toxic Orb on it every single week. I'm going to make it fully physically defensive. I'm not going to speed creep anything. I'm not going to try to hit anything super hard. I'm not going to run it offensive. I'm not going to think about running it Spadef. It's my defensive wall, no matter what. Then Gliscor is ruined. Then the whole aspect of this versatile, offensive, bulky pivot wall Pokemon is thrown out the window, and it's stuck into just this one role, and it's stuck into a Mew role. And I think that is pretty bad. So I guess at the same time, it kind of also needs another defogger. It needs something that can set up rocks on the team. It needs multiple things that can go with it that can take ice type attacks, can set up rocks, and can defog. If you have those three things, Gliscor can basically fit on your team and do anything you want any time of the week aside from being a special attacker. So ultimately, I think that Gliscor is just awesome, but a lot of times it's the coach itself that can hold back Gliscor and its potential, in my opinion. One other really awesome thing to note about soaking up status is that a lot of physical attackers, they kind of rely on needing, like if you want to be a bulky setup sweeper, you need to rely on leftovers, and then you are scared of getting burnt. But with Gliscor, you can run Toxic Orb, and then you're getting the leftovers, and you can't get burnt because of Toxic Heal and things like that. But as I was saying, this Mon is probably my all-time favorite wall in draft format that is not like a regenerator Mon or something like that, because it can do anything you want it to at any point in time. And I love that about Gliscor. It's absolutely amazing. Because of its massive versatile move pool, its plethora of sets it can run, its ability to speed creep other walls, the access to be a stall breaker with taunt, and the ability to just U-turn out on things, this Mon, I'm actually going to give it an A-, believe it or not, just because if it's in the right hands, like if somebody like Shoddy or somebody like Shroom or somebody like Sam had Gliscor, they could maneuver it to do almost anything any time of the week. Just if they wanted to sweep with, say, another Pokemon, but they needed something to switch in, they would do it with Gliscor. If they had all the switch-ins they need, but they wanted to punch holes, they would do it with Gliscor. Like, this thing can do anything as a wall. The one thing I do dislike, though, is how it's not resistant to rocks because it's ground type, but you're also a flying type that's not weak to rocks. So that's also a plus. I love the thought of having a Tornadus Therian and a Gliscor on the same team. I absolutely love that thought. And I really want to try that out in a draft one day, but that's very hard to get, so. But that is going to be my analysis on Gliscor. I think that Gliscor is actually a very underrated Mon, and I think that a lot of people just think of it as standard stall. But I think that Troy proved that in PPL D2 last season, that it's so much more than that, and I really want to try to emphasize that this Mon can be amazing. Like, I really want to try it out and just throw it every single which way I possibly can. So I'm probably going to draft it up here pretty soon, but I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please make sure to leave a like down below for me. Also, leave a comment letting me know what your thoughts on Gliscor are. I know that one of the guys who's been commenting, he's been saying how much he loves Gliscor, and I completely agree with him. I think that this is absolutely an amazing Mon, and I there's not much more I can say. But I'm going to go and get out of here. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.